Before we dive into more examples with Guava ordering, it's important to understand how to read chaining. And chaining is where you wrap or you call multiple variations of a comparator. So you can call reverse. And let's actually look at this example below where this ordering, you might call ordering.natural.nulls_first.unresult_of. And there's a lot of different ways. But if you read below, ordering actually, when you read this, you read from right to left instead of left to right. So we're going to first read this as we're going to have this method or this ordering object, or if we call .sorted copy, we would say, okay, for this result on result of, we're going to call this function, and then we're going to provide nulls first, and then we want them in the natural order. So it's important to understand, so as you're going through, you get the correct order. Now there is one exception to the rule for chains of calls that actually call compound. They actually read from left to right. So to avoid confusion, avoid intermixing compound calls with other chain calls. For a second series of examples, we've created two objects. One is an address object that contains pieces of information of the address location, and then the second is an enum that represents the states. Jumping back to our ordering to class, we've initialized a list of addresses, and put some dummy data in there. And since most of our ordering when we're working with collections is by object, let's look at a few different ways we can work on that. So the first thing is, if we want to order a collection of objects by field, we can create an ordering object that does this by passing it a function. So let's look at, we did ordering.natural.unresult_of, and then we actually pass it a function. So from an address to a string, and then we'll return a city. And then this would be ordering an address by city. So if we did by city.sorted copy, so we'll create a sorted copy of all the addresses, and then they would be in the natural order of the addresses. So let's go ahead and run this, and let's see what we get. So we'll see that our addresses by city, so if we get by our city, and our output isn't great, so we got G, M, R, S, and then our last is W. So it ordered the city by the natural order of strings there. The second example is, let's say we want to sort addresses by the address line, and then we want case insensitive order. So in our prior ordering snippets, we showed how we can actually create from an existing comparator. So we'll call string.caseInsensitive order, which will return a comparator that will compare strings in a case insensitive way. And then we'll do an onResult again, so we'll create a new function that will return the address part of it. So we kind of combined all these pieces together and did a .sorted copy on it. And then let's go ahead and run this. So we should see a list of addresses sorted by the actual address. So we just printed out the address there, and so we have 16, so it's ordered by the natural order, and in this case we have 16, 369, and all the way down. So that's the natural order in case sensitive order. So this next snippet is kind of neat. So one of the things ordering allows us to do is specify an explicit order of things. So enums by default are kind of ordered in the natural way they're entered in the enum. But if we wanted to say, hey, let's order these states in a specific order, and in this instance we say, let's order them by Midwest states. We can specify an ordering class and say ordering.explicit, and then list the explicit order that we'd like, and you can order these in any which way you want. And then we'll create a list of states, enum of states, and then we'll sort them by the Midwest states. So let's go ahead and run this, and we should see that this orders them in the explicit order that we say. So Illinois, so we can cross-reference Illinois, then we can cross-reference Indiana, and all the way down the line, and it orders that list of states or a list of enums by the explicit order we had given it. So kind of a neat way to order enums. A lot of folks use enums on drop-down lists, and they need to get them in a specific order, which this is pretty helpful for. So the next example is we want to sort addresses by state enum in a specific order. So this is another neat way. So first we'll read left to right here. So we have a sorted copy of addresses, and then we'll say on state. So if we look on state, that actually is an ordering object or comparator. I'm sorry, it's a function that will return from and to. So we'll say from an address to a state, and then we'll return that state in the function. Then we'll want to say state.order, and if we go into that, we'll say that is the actual explicit order of the enum state. So what we're saying here in essence is we want to sort the addresses by the state enum in a specific order. So let's go ahead and run this. And we'll see that list of addresses will be ordered in that explicit order. So we have Alabama, we have California, and we go down the line. And we can see if we jump over to state, that was Alabama, California. So it looks like alphabetical order we set that up with. The next snippet will show, we copied that by length. So we're going to order or create a comparator that will compare strings by length. And then we want to chain multiple comparators together. So if you have by length, you might have many different ways you want to order a selection, and you might have a grid on a HTML page that you have multiple ways you want to order, and then you might have to multi-select ordering where you want to put all these comparators together. And this is an easy way to provide that functionality. So let's kind of read through this again. So we'll start from right to left, sorted copy. For when we put together multiple comparators, or when we use compound, we actually want to read left to right here. So we're going to say from case insensitive order, and then we want to compound the length. So we want to compare case insensitive order, then we want to compare by length, and then we'll pass it the sorted copy to look at. So let's go ahead and run this. So we'll have level up lunch, and then we'll have to welcome and welcome one. So that's just another way to compound multiple comparators together. Thanks for joining in today's Level Up Lunch. I hope you got a little bit more out of the ordering class that Guava provides.